Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Kayfabe Central podcast. I am your host, Josh, as always. Joining me today is Ru on Wrestling.
Hey guys.
Stu not joining us today. He had some personal stuff to attend to. And it is pretty early. So, we were just making the joke that because if you guys didn't listen to the last podcast, Stu was baffled by the fact that I think Rue was baffled by the fact that I wake up at 12 o'clock in the afternoon a lot of the time. So we are just making that joke of how hard it was for me to wake up this morning. Yeah, so it is 10 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast, but this is the only time we can get this out before Night of Champions. So yeah, we are going to get straight into it. Before we do, a little bit of self promo. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, and comment. Hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the videos, podcasts, and interviews that come to the channel. Subscribe to the Ko-Fi page. It's $5 minimum to get on the exclusive wrestling content tier. I apologize, my brain is slowly catching up. Uh huh. And subscribe to the or go check out my WWE shop link if you plan on buying anything from WWE shop. But yeah, with that being said, we're going to get straight into this. So the first topic we have today is some trademarks. So the WWE had trademarked the Oracle nickname, and I'm not gonna lie, when I saw this come out, I thought this was the name of the faction for Seth Rollins. I thought they were gonna name the faction the Oracle, and I was not happy about that being the name. However, this is going to be the new nickname for Paul Heyman. And obviously they can't do the wise man or an advocate or anything like that because he was with that with other wrestlers like Roman and Brock. So they're going with the Oracle, which I kind of like for Paul Heyman. If it was the faction name, then it would have been a different story. But I like the Oracle nickname for Paul Heyman.
Yeah, I agree. I actually thought the exact same as you when this first came out. I, like you, assumed that this was going to be the name of the group, and it wasn't until Monday Night Raw when also Seth referred to Paul Heyman as the Oracle or his Oracle. I can't remember which way when he said it. Yeah, I think it works. It must be hard to come up with different nicknames for Paul Heyman now. There's so many, but yeah, I think it works, and I'm glad, as you said, it's not the name of the group because if I don't think that quite works. Like just you're trying to imagine it like, oh, it's the Oracle. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. It sounds like a basketball team, the Oracle.
Yeah,
um, yeah. However, this faction does still need a name because I am tired of typing out Seth Rollins, Big Ronson Reed, and Braun Breaker every single time. Um, so yeah, this faction definitely needs a name, and like they could have gone with something. Um, I think Stu brought this up. They could go something with simple as the Vision, and that would be fine. But yeah, this faction definitely needs a
yeah,
name.
yeah. No, I thought they just it made kind of sense as you said, like calling them the Vision. I know Stu mentioned it. I mean I think that looks better than Oracle, but they need something. And it's such a shame because everyone was so hyped about it, and they've got the names they've got are fantastic, but they need a lot of things to them. Like they've also given Seth the Money in the Bank briefcase, but I said they need a name, they need a direction, they need some storytelling. They've got having good matches down. Look at Braun. We'll get to look at Braun and Penta, but I mean they've got nothing else, and you need to start off with something really basic like a name.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, that's the Oracle trademark. A trademark that I have no interest in is the WWE Late Night trademark. And this is something that's going to be hosted by Tony Hinchcliffe after SummerSlam. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while before Rue was on here and before I was doing a podcast and just doing write-ups on these things, you know exactly how I feel about Tony Hinchcliffe. He is a racist comedian. and he did the whole roast of WrestleMania thing. And I listened to that entire thing, and I didn't find him funny. And not a lot of that was funny to me. And I'm someone who laughs pretty easily. Like I laugh at jokes pretty easily, but I just couldn't get behind this. Um, Maybe it was my personal feelings about the individual Tony Hinchcliffe. Um, but yeah, this is not something I have to watch and not something I'm going to watch.
Yeah, it's so from my side, I had no idea who Tony Hinchcliffe was, and when he got announced as the WrestleMania, the WrestleMania host, I'd never even heard of him, and it's one of them when I think over here a lot of people wouldn't have. It's that old kind of trope that American and British humor just don't really mix. I seen a couple of his things on TikTok after he was announced. I didn't find them funny. I mean, at the time, I didn't know anything about him personally, like the kind of more serious stuff that, as you mentioned, we can allude to. But just as a straight up comedian, I didn't really find him funny. And then I've not seen anything really from the roast of WrestleMania. All I know is that it was a bit of a disaster, and the fact that they didn't want any form of filming or advertisement really for the show, I think slightly telling. And I was really surprised when I seen this because I just kind of assumed that behind the scenes it was something that WWE have gone, okay, we've done it, let's never do that again. But obviously I was wrong.
Yeah. Um there were some jokes made on there that were just crossing the line in my opinion, and like again, I'm someone who laughs at a lot of things. I'm perfectly okay with dark humor. Like I'm not sensitive to any of that. It was just this is the WWE. We wouldn't have had this like 10 years ago. And I get that maybe Triple H and these and take TKO are trying to expand their audience by having these comedians come in, but Fluffy is his name, the comedian. Um
Yeah.
excuse me. Have him come in and do these things. He's always at the shows. I don't know why they haven't called him in. Kevin Hart is my favorite actor, and he was just doing some funny stuff at Fanatics Fest with Cody Rhodes. Have him come in and do something. Um, I don't understand why WWE continuously involves themselves in these political individuals. I just don't think it's a good idea, and I think eventually it'll catch up to them.
Yeah, I think the perfect example, like you use there, is Fluffy. Now, Fluffy again is someone I don't know of until he started appearing on WWE, but he's been on WWE a lot. They clearly have a good relationship, and again, I don't know anything about him. I haven't watched any of his stuff, but he seems like a really lovely guy and pretty unproblematic. I hope I don't that doesn't come back to haunt me saying that. So why would you not go the safe route with it? As I said, like, I didn't know anything about Tony Hinchcliffe. I didn't know anything about him. I think that's probably the same for a lot of people over here. But to have someone in that kind of like light, especially someone who has no relation to the WWE, for an example, and I can't believe I'm actually about to like use this as an example. Like when they bring Hulk Hogan back, as much as I don't like it or don't want them to, I want them to have nothing to do with the guy. At least the guy has something to do with WWE and wrestling. The Tony Hinchcliffe doesn't. So it's a really weird decision to go down that route for something that they could quite easily avoid any form of negative publicity or just negative look from people, especially in a time when they're being quite scrutinised and rightfully so for some of the decisions they're making. So I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a weird one. I won't be watching it.
Yeah. Um, so there's that. Another topic that came out this week is AEW had ideas for two new titles, and one of them was the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championships, which in the case right now, I could see them doing. And I think it could be beneficial if they do it right because of how many women they have. They have a few tag teams as well. They have um who was it? Anna Jay and Harley Cameron. They
Yeah,
have whenever she loses the title
Nelly.
to, which I'm pretty spoiler, I think Tony Storm is losing the title to Mercedes Moné. Um, you could have Tony Storm and Thunder Rosa again. And there's just a variety of more women's tag teams there, and like you could always create more women's tag teams as well. So I can definitely see them going that route with the women's tag titles.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's such a weird one. Like especially when you bring the belts in for AEW, it just needs the correct booking because already AEW has a metric shit ton load of belts, and their shows are about 9 hours long already. However, I also agree that there are a lot of people who are being missed off the card, and it's one of those things like AEW. One of the things I love about AEW and WWE, please just go back to this, is AEW does the pre-shows or the buy-ins so well. So even just to have that extra match, put them get them on the pre-show or something that I think they could do. It's still mental that WWE don't even have one match on the pre-show anymore. That yet you've got to sit through 6 hours worth of WrestleMania pre-shows, which is crazy. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I could see them. I could see them doing that. I wouldn't be totally against it. Yeah, it's a hard one because on one light, it's like yes, they do already have a lot of belts, but the women's tag team titles is potentially something you, especially because there really is only like what they got the AEW's women's title obviously and the TBS championship. Is that the only
Yeah.
belts for the at least in AEW canon, not like Ring of Honor on all
Yeah.
that. So yeah, so they've got that. So they do have the one quote unquote mid card championship sat there. But yeah, I think they could do a lot for the women to introduce a tag team belt.
The other titles that they wanted to create, and like these are created, they're just sitting up on a shelf. By the way, for anybody listening, the other titles was the AEW Intergenerational Tag Team Championships for father and son duos, whether that be real or fake. Um, if this was an attempt to like, and I can see why they didn't go through with this. If this was an attempt to get titles on Christian Cage and Nick Wayne for that whole father son dynamic, this is terrible. Um, Obviously they didn't go through with it, but I do think in some capacity this could work. Maybe as a like a cup, like a tournament, and have the winner of that um face the tag champs, like, and have it be intergenerational, which is why they called it intergenerational, because like one generation and another, and they didn't call it like the father son championships or something like that. Like we're already seeing something like that with Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, and we see it with Billy Gunn and Anthony Bowens. So we are seeing it happen. Like Sting is obviously not going to come back; he's retired. But we are seeing different generations pair up. So I think this could work as a cup. And that's just like me booking in my mind. If they really wanted to do this idea, it would not work as actual tag title belts, though.
Yeah, annoyingly, you've picked and chosen both of my examples that I was going to use. But yes, I totally agree with the people. Yeah, when I first started seeing that, I was like, surely not, that can't work. But and as you said, having it titled the intergenerational, I think if they are going to go down this route for something, is a lot safer than Father and Son because then you really kind of have put a niche on this and make it a lot harder to really do anything with. And he said the only ones you could really do was Christian and Nick Wayne. But yeah, so they've got a lot there. That would make sense. And I think I never well, I didn't think about it until you just said it there, and I actually totally agree. I think a cup format like the Heritage Cup would be a lot better, rather than running around as you said, with tag team titles, and you've got the likes. You can use Christian and yeah, Nick. You've got, as he said, Anthony Bowens and Billy Gunn, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. I was going to say, what age is Wheeler Yuta? Do we know? I don't know if you happen to know off the top of your head. I might have a
Oh,
quick.
Billy
Wheeler Yuta.
Wheeler Yuta. I can do a quick search. I think he's. I don't want to guess his age. Actually, let me not do that.
Oh,
Uh,
he's 28.
oh
He's
wow.
28.
Okay.
So you could put it. Yeah, so even like him to put him with like I don't know, like Claudio or someone of that. Like I know Claudio's not that old, and Neil's like John Moxley, but older than Wheeler Yuta. Like, yeah. Well, actually, saying that it just comes to Neil. Claudio is actually 44. So
Yeah.
yeah, like they've got people there that they can use. Wow, Daniel Garcia is the same age as me. That is disgusting. I've just seen that's horrible to know. But yeah, someone like Daniel Garcia, put him with I don't know if they're wanting to bring. Obviously, kind of keep doing matches. Something with Nigel McGuinness. I don't know, but yeah, they've got options there if they want to go down that route. And as you did, I think something like the cup, like the Heritage Cup, could work a hell of a lot better than it would be if it was like actual titles.
Yeah. I think like on the topic of them creating titles, I think something like a cruiserweight championship could work as well. And you mentioned
Yeah,
having things on the pre-show. That's something you could have on the pre-show. You have people like AR Fox who like doesn't really have a character but can do some really cool things in the ring. You could put a cruiserweight title on him. You have people like Action Andretti who um again, he's with Leo Rush, but this is someone you could be like, I don't really want to put the TNT title on him. Let's see how he does with the cruiserweight title. And
yeah,
I think a cruiserweight title
that
could
makes
be
sense.
really cool.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. In fact, actually, what's really interesting, not to hijack your podcast, maybe really quickly. So WWE actually interfered and hijacked a video that I was in the midst of making for TikTok, but I've scrapped it now because of the announcement of SmackDown going back to 2 hours. Originally, a video I was going to do was should WWE bring back the Cruiserweight Championship? My thought being, we've also been talking about, how boring that kind of mid-hour of SmackDown was. We've got the likes of the LWO over there. You've got Phoenix, Andrade, blah blah blah, and even in the tag teams, you've got like Johnny Gargano, Nathan Fraser, and now with WWE taking, well, not taking over, buying over AAA, and it looks like some of the AAA guys might be signing into WWE, who unfortunately, unless they are breakout stars, I can't see them. I'd see them just getting lost in the shuffle into tag teams. Would the Cruiserweight Championship kind of help that? Now, again, I already think WWE does have far too many belts, but my thought was with that kind of spare hour on SmackDown, would it be smart and have it kind of like what they had with the Cruiserweight Championship in 2016, having it exclusively on Raw? We can maybe have this one on SmackDown, or they could jump between brands if they wanted. Um, that was an interest. That was a video I was actually in the midst of making until WWE announced that they were going to go back to 2 hours, and I was like, oh, there's no point in this now, so I didn't bother. But yeah, I think, but same way for AEW. I said that they've got so many really talented guys on the lower end of the roster that I said if they don't want to push them up to that, development, Leo Rush is actually a great example. I really like Leo Rush, and Leo Fox. So I think that would actually be quite a good idea. I'm sure I'll get hate for it.
Yeah, I think if it's used well, even in WWE, um, it could end. WWE completely flopped the cruiserweight title before, but maybe
Yeah,
in different hands, um it could strive. I think in
yeah.
AEW it would strive a lot more just because you have a lot more people in that cruiserweight division that can do crazy things. And like hell, I know he's technically not a cruiserweight, but he moves like it. You could throw somebody like a Beast Mortos in the cruiserweight
I
division.
was literally gonna say that. I was like, Johnny, when you said when he's not technically a cruiser, I was like, I know what you're gonna say because I was already about to bring up the fact of maybe instead of the cruiserweight division, they have something like the X division in TNA, so
Yeah,
that it's not limited to like a weight class. But yeah, exactly, as a perfect example. Beast Mortos.
yeah.
I would love to see him actually hold some form of mid card belt.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, just pretty underrated in the ring. And I
Yeah,
think the time will come where people will start taking more notice to Beast Mortals. But yeah, someone like
yeah,
him you can
agreed.
throw in that shuffle.
Yeah, and you got like the hologram and all that there as well. There's so many people in AEW, and that's the thing as well. It doesn't necessarily need to just be stuck to the lower guys. Obviously, kind of what they did with the cruiserweight championship with likes of Neville in WWE at the time. Yeah, yeah, eventually it fell flat in his face. But you could have like you've got obviously like Ricochet there. If they didn't have anything for him, they could put him in there. They could put him on that and give it a bit of legitimacy behind it. So they have a lot of guys up the card. Adam Cole, bloody, especially if they didn't make it give it a weight class, it was something more like the X Division title. There's so many guys higher up as well who could help elevate the likes of Leo Rush and all that onto that main stage.
100%. Um, but yeah, so moving on from some AEW stuff for a minute. Uh, we have some injuries to talk about. One of them being Dominik Mysterio. Now, we talked about on the United Champions predictions that we thought that, Dom maybe just pulled out because of all the stuff going on with Saudi Arabia. Come to find out that is not the case. He is actually hurt. And yeah, his ribs, like he said, were bothering him. Uh, the crowd on Monday Night Raw did not let him say that. But yeah, his ribs are actually injured, which sucks. And I hope he is back soon to keep doing his thing with the Intercontinental title. And yeah, it would suck if he's out for a while and would have to vacate that title. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah,
no, yeah, absolutely. I like as you said, we also didn't know really at the time, like, oh, is it? It's just convenient timing, but obviously it turns out he is hot. However, it does seem to be touch wood and many bits of wood that it will be a relatively short kind of rest period from he should be back, and hopefully, because as you said, I don't want to see him vacate the title. Like that, it sucks having to do that. So hopefully he'll be okay to come back, and maybe we get like Dom and AJ like SummerSlam or something. They've got 2 nights to fill now. I'm sure they can fill it.
yeah. Um, the other injury was Chad Gable. We saw him get written off TV on Raw, where Penta like snapped his arm, and it is an arm injury that he's dealing with. So, El Grande Americano not going to be on TV anymore, for a while.
You mean the speed champion?
Yeah, that's another thing. He's the speed champion, so I don't know which direction they're going to go in with that. But yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunate
this
as
one
well.
sucks.
Yeah,
No, yeah, yeah. This one proper sucks. Like Chad's so good. Deserves everything, and hopefully one day will get everything he deserves. But yeah, this one absolutely sucks not being able to see Chad Gable on TV on any live events. And as you said, put kayfabe to the side in a minute, but with El Grande as well. Because I want to see you want to see the payoff to the story. It does seem it's probably going to be about 6 months if lucky. Maybe by the end of the year he could be back. Potentially have him in the Rumble showing up in January or February, whenever the hell it is this year or next year. But yeah, this one sucks. I, he's been absolutely pushing himself to the limits. I mean, the 2 matches he had on the same night, Money in the Bank, again outside kayfabe, he had on Worlds Colliding and Money in the Bank, where some of the bumps he was taking were insane. So no, I'm not surprised he's banged up, but it just sucks to hear.
yeah. Um, yeah, he's been doing really good work, and he's a great in ring competitor. So yeah, this does suck. And Chad Gable's one of my favorite wrestlers on the roster. Um, so yeah, the other one is
Yeah.
LA Knight is injured. Now I don't specifically know what his injury is. Um,
What did they say? Was it not like a neck contusion or something they said? I can't quite remember.
yeah, that one I can't fully remember, or if they did say it all. But yeah, he is injured, and this one sucks as well because he wasn't doing a whole lot, but he was still there every week, and he's entertaining. And yeah, I'm an LA Knight fan, and it just sucks to see him gone.
Yeah, me too. It's saying here they had a bruised sternum and rib injuries. Obviously, don't know how much of that's been played into. Obviously, the spear from in Brunbreak and the tsunamis from Bronson Reed, but if it is legitimate, hopefully a bruised sternum hopefully doesn't keep him out for too long. It's not exactly a fun thing to have or come back from. I wouldn't want it, but
Yeah.
hopefully it's not something that's going to take him out for far too long.
Yeah. At first, I thought this could have been like kayfabe after Bronson
Yeah,
Reed attacked him, but yeah, it turns out he actually is injured. So yeah, this sucks for all three of them. All three great competitors, and sucks to not have them wrestle for a while.
yeah.
Moving on to some TV stuff. Monday Night Raw was okay. I'm trying to remember everything off the top of my head that happened. Um,
What Bronson Penta? I know that's one. That's the only thing
yeah,
that's stuck in my head because that was fantastic.
yeah. Braun and
Um,
Penta had a great match.
I'd say Bronson. Whoops, yeah, Braun.
Yeah,
Braun and Penta is what I meant. Sorry.
yeah. No worries. Um, we had a good match between Jay and Cody.
Oh yeah, how did I forget that the main event? Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
that
have no
that
idea how I forgot that.
that was
Uh,
great. That's probably Jay. I would say that's probably been Jay's best match, at least recently. Anyway, it was a fantastic match between the two.
oh, I agree. It was a great match. It exceeded my expectations, and we thought that Jay wasn't gonna lose clean, but he did lose clean.
Yeah. But yeah, I totally agree. I was very surprised to not see Sammy. Now, I didn't think Sammy was going to come out and cost Jay on purpose. I mean, we discussed it, obviously, in the podcast last week. And I think you'd mentioned it. I was totally convinced. I thought Sammy was going to come out in some capacity, even, I don't know, even just to support the two men, and then somehow ended up costing Jay completely by accident. But no, just straight clean win for Cody. That was it.
Yeah. Um, Nothing else notable that I can remember happening on Monday Night Raw.
No, right. Ludwig Kaiser made an appearance.
Yeah, yeah, just a random appearance for the first time in ages.
Yeah, that one's a weird. I've seen actually. Speaking of going back to the El Grande thing, I've seen a lot of people saying put the El Grande, give him a bit more tan and put the El Grande costume on Ludwig, which would be very funny if they
That
did,
would be
and
funny.
just carried on with it. Just to be like, oh no, look, El Grande's not injured.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that'd be
Uh,
good.
no, that would
Well,
be.
sure. New Day, they were great. Xavier was in Kofi. It was next week they're going to be facing Judgment Day for the tag team titles.
Yeah.
They've
Um.
got that. I don't particularly care or know what's going to happen with that one, though I did enjoy Xavier just all of a sudden being a pimp. You know, all of a sudden his costume and Cody shouting that Adam Pearce was bald. That was great as well.
Yeah. Um.
That's that's all I can go with.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. I don't see the Judgment Day beating the New Day next week. There's probably something that's gonna happen that costs them to win.
Yeah,
Um.
I honestly don't know. I mean, the Raw tag team division right now is really, really suffering. Um, I, I really don't know. I did think when Fraction came up, they were going to go to Raw, but no, they were given to SmackDown. It's the SmackDown tag division, whilst maybe not being booked, have some fantastic people there. Don't get me wrong, Raw does as well, but it's just there's nothing. And the only thing is that I don't know if they're maybe eventually going to move, especially if they do this kind of mini draft potentially, maybe move Phoenix over to Raw and we get the Lucha Bros. I don't know, but the Raw tag team division is in the bin entirely at the minute.
Yeah, they did not do a good job at evening out the tag teams for both divisions.
No, not at all. Not at all. So,
Um,
I'm intrigued to see what happens, but I'm not excited. Put it that way.
yeah. Um, moving on to some NXT stuff. Channing Stacks Lorenzo, faced off against Tony D'Angelo for the vacant NXT Heritage Cup after Noam Dar had to vacate it due to another injury, which just sucks for him. And because
Yeah,
he just came back, um, when he came back after he won, they had the whole thing with Metaphor where it's like we did our thing as a group, now we all gotta go our separate ways. Then two of those guys got released, and then um they all went their separate ways. And then now he's hurt again, unfortunately, and has to vacate it. And yeah, really shitty for Noam Dar. But then they went with probably the best case scenario for this, which is Stacks beating Tony D for the Heritage Cup. Um I kind of saw this coming. I thought they were gonna do this at Great American Bash. I thought Stacks would have been facing somebody else, and then Tony D would challenge him for it at Great American Bash, but they ended up just doing it here. So yeah,
yeah.
pretty
I
it the storyline still sucks, but probably the best case scenario here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You said it last week. I think we all, both myself and Stu, agreed with you that even if Stacks had faced Noam, I think Stacks was going to win, and I also agree. I think that was leading to Tony versus Stacks at the Great American Bash. Um, I don't really know what they do now. Do they do? I don't know. Lukov versus Stacks. I don't know what they're doing. I don't particularly care. I voiced my opinion this last week. I don't like the family storyline. I'm not the biggest fan of the family anyway. Said we said in the last week, like Stacks and especially Lukov, if he's allowed to break out, could be a big star. Um, but currently, I don't care, and I also don't know, as you said, how it's going to go. Obviously, it's unfortunate. They've kind of had to change plans, and my best goes out to Noam. He's such a good talent. Obviously, I know Noam. Well, say I know Noam. I don't know him personally, but I've known of Noam for a long time. Him coming up through ICW over here in Scotland, and watched him perform there. He's so good. Um, so yeah, it sucks to see. So I hope he gets well soon. But yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do from here.
Yeah. Side note, this makes me scared for Noam Dar. Because
Yeah,
I don't know what WWE is gonna do with him now. It
uh,
very well could end in a release, and that's not me advocating for him to lose his job. That's just the way WWE goes.
yeah. That's just how they do it. It's how they do business. I there's two people like that. It's not a fun topic. But I was talking to someone about this as well, and Noam falls into this category alongside. I would probably say Zoe Starks as well, which absolutely sucks. But I don't see it looking too great for them. At least with Noam, the only positive to try to turn to positive, if that was to happen, is if he wanted to come back to Scotland and wrestle back in ICW, he would be more than welcome back. He's a legend over here. He's so loved. And ICW and ICW fans would take him back in an instance.
Yeah. Before we continue, we do got to do another Zoom meeting because the time is almost up. Um, so
Yep.
I will be back. Okay, we are back. For those of you that don't know by now, Zoom has a time limit. That's why we always have to do like separate parts, but it doesn't affect the final video. Um, so yeah, we were talking about NXT and the whole Stacks and Tony D storyline. I don't think there's much more to talk about here than because we already got into a lot of it last week, and nothing has really changed since.
Yeah, nothing changed. Stacks, that's as you said. Like even if Noam wasn't injured, I think Stacks was always going to win
Yeah,
the Heritage Cup anyway, so it doesn't change too much.
yeah. Um, Trying to think of what else happened on NXT. Um,
What we had the Trick Williams, Josh Briggs.
yes,
That was
that's
this
what
week,
was
wasn't it?
lingering in my mind. Yeah, so Trick Williams, to no surprise, retained against Josh Briggs because um Inamura gave the uh title shot to him because Inamura wanted to go after the NXT championship. So we got that confrontation with him and Obafemi. Um, Inamura is going to be facing Jasper Troy, who involved himself in that segment next week on NXT to determine the number one contender. Um, I'm trying to think of what else
Like,
happened.
uh,
Blake Monroe got put through a table, I'm pretty sure.
yes, they had her do her contract signing, and JC Jane and the rest of Fate Influence came out, and this. Wait, was that this week? Was that the week before? I can't remember now
Was
because
that
she
the,
did
yeah,
this
I
the week
can't
a couple of
remember if
references.
this was I think I missed NXT this week and I watched it the morning after. So now I'm just like all over the place. I can't remember if that was this week. That's why I hesitated before
I,
saying it.
I
I'm like,
yes, I think it was the week prior because this week the main event, and that's the only other bit I can remember, was also the fatal four way between the women.
ah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So maybe that was the week prior.
It
Um,
might have been.
yeah, apologies for that. Um, yeah, the Fatal Four Way was obviously won by Jordan Grace, and I expected that. And I like I said, I expect Jordan Grace to win that title at Evolution.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's as you said. Firstly, it was a great match. We already know how good Jordan Grace is. So that wasn't that much of a surprise. But Lash Legend looked really great. Izzy Dame looked great. I feel bad. Who is the other fake one? And Jada Parker. That was it. We know how good she is as well. So it was good to see Lash and Izzy get to show us off. They all the women looked great here. Yeah, Jordan won, and I think it's the right decision. The only thing I'm a bit confused about, and I did do a video on this, was the fact that I agree. I think Jordan's most likely going to win at Evolution, but the issue is it seems like they're pushing Blake Monroe pretty much to the top, and unless, and this is kind of sucks to say, unless Jordan Grace, their vision for her isn't as high as we maybe thought, and she is just going to lose it straight to Blake Monroe, but that seems a bit of a waste. The only other option is, I think you mentioned it last week. I agree. Is maybe um Blake cost Jordan in some way and turns heel because I think we all agreed that Blake's character as a babyface is doesn't really work. It's a bit weird. We want the kind of evil Mariah May character that
Yeah.
we got in AEW. So I think they two should turn her heel. So maybe that is what happens, and then I'll say, whatever NXT show we get around SummerSlam, maybe there, Blake beats JC and she picks up the NXT Women's Championship, and then we have the Jordan feud that way. But yeah, it's quite. I would say confusing because it's also a good thing to not know what's going to happen. But yeah, I'm not 100% on what way this is going to go.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat there. I really don't know because I like you said, I think Mariah May's character is better as a heel, but yeah, I don't know. I think they do like Jordan Grace a lot. And to be
Yeah,
honest, I wouldn't put it past them to do a babyface versus babyface matchup or even like a triple threat, including JC Jane.
yeah. I never really actually that sounds really bad. It sounds bad on JC. I never even considered them just doing a straight up triple threat, but maybe maybe they do, and that is because there was also talk, and I also don't know how much that there is to this, but around the times of the call ups for Giulia and Stephanie, there was also talk of potentially Jordan being called up as well, just going straight to the main roster.
Yeah.
So maybe they do a really short run with her just to give her the chance of winning the championship. Then, as you said, she could lose it at the whatever event around SummerSlam. Maybe do the triple threat, and who knows? Maybe she gets called up in the summertime, SummerSlam time. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Either way, I mean, I would quite like to see her as Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe kind of feud, obviously with Blake being heel at some point. But I would be interested.
Yeah. And I think it was either you or Stu that brought it up last week of Jordan Grace potentially turning heel.
Yeah, I think maybe Stu mentioned it. Yeah, that is a pathway. There's a lot of options you can go for, and it's one of them ones to sit and say, "Oh, it's so annoying," but that's the point. We're not meant to know. That's the point where I don't want to know what's going to happen. So I'm intrigued to see the way that I just can't. Right now, my brain isn't able to think of a set route on how we're going to get there. So I'm intrigued to see what happens.
Yeah. Um yeah, so that's NXT. Um Once again it was NXT. It wasn't anything special. Um
Some parts. It was the Ava bit with Ethan Page and Ricky Saints. I just can't
yeah,
take Ava seriously.
it's been the same thing every week. It's like, okay, we need to have a talk. You two are going to be in my office next week. Like for what? Like what, where
Yeah,
is this going? We're in the same cycle. Like realistically, if two people are fighting in a workplace that is causing a dangerous environment, you take more serious precautions than just saying every week, okay, you guys are coming to my office. Like this is an elementary school. Like
yeah, exactly.
it's not going anywhere. And Ethan Page is doing what he can with that title. And I give all
Yeah,
the credit to him. Ethan Page is phenomenal. And he's doing what he can, but they're not giving him a lot of the tools to work with.
yeah, I agree. Like when he's on my screen, I still laugh and get happy because Ethan Page is just fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's not the greatest material, but as you said, he makes it palatable somehow.
Yeah, 100%. Um so I had written down here because NXT was pre-taped for next week. I had the NXT spoilers written down, but I don't think I am going to. And you're probably going to watch NXT and not want spoilers as well. Um,
Yeah, interesting. I actually completely forgot about that because of is it fourth? Is it fall? I can't remember. Why did they tape it? But I didn't actually realize it had been taped. So is it to give them the Fourth of July week off?
yeah.
Ah,
Um,
okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I didn't actually realize it had been taped. So yes, I'm happy to avoid spoils.
um, you said you're okay with spoilers or no spoilers?
Oh, I'm happy to
Oh,
avoid
avoid
spoils
spoilers.
for it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So yeah, I will avoid talking about that, and I'm not gonna spoil it for anybody else. Um, but it'll save me the effort from watching it on Tuesday. And
yeah,
yeah,
sure.
so there's that. The post will probably already be written out, but I'll just publish it at like 10 o'clock on Tuesday or something. Um,
When it comes out, yeah.
so yeah, there's that. Um, Moving on to SmackDown now, which happened, I was gonna say last night, but yesterday afternoon for the Eastern Standard Time. Um, we had Giulia winning the Women's United States Championship from Zelina Vega. Um, I saw this coming. I even texted the group chat right before the match started, saying I can see Zelina losing here, in which she did. Um, they didn't do anything with the Zelina Vega title reign, and this just goes to show they really had no intention of actually pushing Zelina Vega.
Yeah, that absolutely. I think this was definitely probably the one of the most for me anyway. Probably one of the most obvious outcomes of the matches of the night. I would have put everything on Giulia winning there, and she did. And yeah, I just said it sucks with Zelina. I said, Zelina, I'm not going to sit here and act like Zelina's my favorite wrestler, but I like her. She's one of the best talkers they've got, but they didn't let her do that. They didn't let her talk. They didn't let her do anything. She just came out, no pop, had a short match with Piper or Alba Fire, and that was it. And that's gone on since, God, when did Chelsea lose that? In March, maybe? Remember,
I believe it was April.
was it April?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good couple of months now. They've not done anything. It's not worked. Let's move on to Giulia.
Yeah. Um, and obviously Giulia didn't hold on to that NXT Women's title for that long, so it makes sense they went this route for her. Um, but yeah, so Giulia wins that. I thought there was going to be more title changes, like with the tag team titles between the Wyatt Six and the Street Profits. I thought the Wyatt Six were going to go over. Uh, that ended up in a DQ with all the tag teams getting involved, which was, I don't know, to me just underwhelming because they're just replaying the same thing at this point.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
same. I said like in my video about it, like I was like I didn't know I picked White Six to win, kind of like you, but more not out of a potentially really the wanting them to, just because it was something different. Then yeah, as you said, the other thing with the DQ as well, I hate it when DQs come out of entirely out of nowhere. Um, like see for instance, if it's also a really dumb trope in wrestling, but if you have the good guy out the ring or the babyface out who's supporting the other babyface and the heel maybe hits that babyface and they get mad and accidentally cause a DQ. I don't like it, but it makes sense sometimes. But Los Garza just tripped. Uh, was it either the Wyatt Six or the Street Park? I can't remember. It just seemed like no apparent reason. Just just caused the
yeah,
DQ. Yeah, it was a weird one. The tag team division are interesting in SmackDown because they always do this. Is always find the beatdowns after the match are 10 times more entertaining than the actual match itself,
yeah,
um, which isn't a great sign. I don't know where they're leading to with this because it seems like every tag team is feuding. I don't know if they're just going to do one massive match somehow. I don't know how or what they're going to do. Yeah, it seems it's annoying because again they proved it with the TLC match. They've got some of the best tag teams in the world, some of the best wrestlers. I'm sure we can chat about it, but we've seen the match also with DIY last night as well. Absolutely incredible match. So they've got the talent there. Once again, it's the booking.
yeah. I apologize if you can hear noise in the background. My window's open and someone's working on their yard. But
You're actually
so
fine. Oh, I can't hear anything. You're actually fine.
okay, that's good then. Um, so yeah, that's the tag team division, and yeah, like you said, they need to come up with something different, and I I don't know if I'd be opposed to a huge tag match. Um, Los Garza, by the way, finally brought the AAA tag titles
Oh yeah,
on WWE TV. I'm happy about that.
yeah. Me too.
Um, but they kind of just been in and out of this tag team division. 1 second they're in it, the next they're not, and now they're back in it. Um,
Yeah.
so not sure what's going on there. But yeah, there's that. Another thing that I thought was going to change was the WWE Women's Championship between Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax. Naomi did come out and try to cash in, but it ultimately failed. Yeah, I thought that Tiffy was losing here due to cash in, but she is not. And they could go with Tiffany and Jade, but I am now going to say more confidently that Oscar is going to win tomorrow. Or
Yeah.
not tomorrow,
I,
today, sorry.
today in literally a couple of hours. Yeah, I think so as well. The more, see, especially, I mean, we can also maybe get onto it, but especially after the Jade Asuka segment last night, I messaged the group chat and I was like, just put the belt and the crown on Asuka right now. She's amazing. I think so. But I think we will still do Tiffy and Jade, and I think it probably will. I think it will end in Naomi having the belt somehow. The thing was like the match was fine. It was another Tiffy Naomi match. Please, can we stop doing them. The thing I hated, and once again just proves the point that Triple H doesn't know or can't be bothered to book the Money in the Bank winner. So once again, they had Naomi come out and she looked like a complete idiot. Like,
Yeah.
why is she trying to cash in the middle of the match? It's just in kayfabe. It's just so. It's the completely wrong time. It's so stupid. Just for it to get fault, just to get once again fouled once again. Yeah, I hated it. It's one of those. I always find with the Money in the Bank, especially, and this is the issue with, I guess, quote unquote, say Triple H's booking of it, is because this happened with Damian Priest, and it happened to an extent a little bit with Tiffany as well, where it's just failed attempt after failed attempt, making the Money in the Bank go to look ridiculous. I'm like, it's better, I think, and maybe I don't know, other people might disagree. I think it's better to completely almost get them out of our existence, like make us forget about them. Now, obviously, that's harder to take someone off TV. I mean, that means they're not getting the on air time for it. Which yes, that is a bit harder, but I would rather forget that someone has a Money in the Bank holder that's even an option, and then it comes to the match, and all of a sudden we're like, oh shit, well, like a major surprise happens, then the cash in happens, rather than every single week reminding us, oh, this person has Money in the Bank. Oh, they failed again. I just think it does more harm than good to the talent.
Yeah. And like, just to use an example from some great cash-ins, the Dolph Ziggler one. Um, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people forgot he was Mr. Money in the Bank because he was, and I know this because I just recently watched WrestleMania 29 back. He was in a pointless tag match at that WrestleMania. Um,
Yeah, it's him
so
and Big E versus Team Hell No, wasn't it?
yes, yeah, that was
Maybe.
the match.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, they made us forget that Dolph Ziggler was Mr. Money in the Bank by just putting him in pointless matches. Um, Seth Rollins, he had a match earlier in that night. We're like, there's no way. Um, and like obviously they made it clear that like he was Mr. Money in the Bank, but we were like, no, I don't think so. And as Brock and Roman were fighting, we kind of just forgot about Seth until he came out. Um, the problem I also had with this attempted cash in was they were both standing. Tiffany and I were both on
That
their
was
feet.
my exactly. That's my point. That's why like it's so stupid. Why would you cash in the middle of the match? Not even when they're both down.
Yeah. And like when Seth cashed in, both Brock and Roman were on the ground. When Dolph cashed in,
Yep.
Alberto Del Rio was favoring his leg on the ground. Tiffany and I were both on their feet and just had to awkwardly stare at Naomi talking to the ref that she wants to cash in until she got blindsided.
Yep. Literally, I couldn't agree more. I hate it, and it's such a shame because I love the Money in the Bank cash in. Like it's one of them that I've always loved it. Going back to the days of Edge and CM Punk and even the Miz and stuff that I always loved them, but recently, like don't get me wrong, like the Damien one's an interesting one because when it happened, I was like, holy shit, and it caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
But the more you hear about, especially Triple H and his slight disdain for the Money in the Bank briefcase, the more the pieces of the jigsaw kind of come together because you're like, yes, I can kind of see it now. He doesn't either. It's a failed cash in on the first night, or it's a successful cash in on the same night just to get rid of it, or it's months of just shit. That's the only way
Yeah.
I can describe it. The only way I can describe it. So yeah, I don't like it. It's really annoying.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Excuse me. Um, but yeah, I don't know when Naomi's gonna cash in. Probably SummerSlam. I'd assume.
Yeah.
Like you said, they're probably Triple H is
Ah,
probably gonna get that off of her as soon as possible.
yeah. I think SummerSlam makes sense. See, especially if it wasn't last night, which I think they kind of obviously did feed that red herring with the last woman standing. If it wasn't last night, I think SummerSlam's probably the place it's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, you're still going with Jade today to win?
So I'm only going with it just simply because I had been saying it from the start. So I'm saying Jade. However, I want Asuka to win. I want Asuka to win, but I'm saying Jade just. I think you said it, and it makes sense a lot of the times. Also, sometimes they don't do it. Like go back to the Money in the Bank one when you'd picked Rhea Ripley because it was the obvious option. And WWE sometimes now obviously they didn't go with it that time, but they do it a lot more than they don't. I would say half the time, like having Seth win the Money in the Bank, it was obvious. Doesn't mean it's bad, but it was obvious.
Yeah.
Um, so I think like with this, like I think Jade from the start has been the like has been the one that they were going to have win. Um, and it's not. I don't know if they could have planned for Asuka to come back and just be freaking amazing. So I think they might still just they'll just keep the plan as they have it. However, I do want Asuka to win.
Yeah. Um, I am going to stick with Asuka. Well, I say stick. I wasn't even sure when we made our predictions until SmackDown.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I can more confidently say that Asuka is going to win this. And like you said, I could be wrong. They could just go with the ladder and just have Jade win.
yeah,
Um, and go with the more obvious option there.
that's it. That
And
exactly. It wouldn't surprise me. Let's put it that way.
and I think Tiffy and Jade would be an interesting matchup. You know, you have two athletic, very athletic individuals going at it. Probably your two most athletic individuals on the SmackDown women's roster.
Yeah,
So yeah. Um, but that is gonna do it for us. For the headlines of the week this week. Yeah, we are going to be watching Night of Champions in like 2 hours, and I still have to fully wake up because there was times during this podcast where I'm like, man, if only I could have got like half an hour more. But um, yeah, yeah, but now I would have been awake, which is now that I'm realizing is kind of crazy. Um, but yeah, so that is it for us. I will see you guys on the Night of Champions post show. Um, depending on what time it is there for you, Rue, I may or may not have you on for that. It might be late, so we'll talk about it.
yeah. Just let me know.
Um, a lot of the time the post show is just me, just because by time pay-per-views usually end, it's like really late
Oh yeah.
over there. Um, so yeah, we'll see where we're at with that. And yeah, regardless of the fact, I will see you guys on the post show for Night of Champions. And yeah, anything else you want to add?
No, I'm looking forward to tonight. And I said you can give me a message. I see him from around still. But that's if you're on later. But yeah, looking forward to tonight. And as always, I said you can go follow Rue on TikTok. Rue on TikTok, Rue on wrestling on TikTok, and just put out a reaction to the punkonomics. So or the punk life. So go check that out.
Yeah, go check that out. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment as well. Turn post notifications on so you're up to date with all the podcast interviews and all the good stuff that comes to the channel. Subscribe to the Ko-Fi page. It's $5 minimum to subscribe to the exclusive wrestling content tier. If you plan on buying anything from WWE Shop, go ahead and check out my link. Everything is in the description. Um, and if you're listening to us on Spotify, go ahead and drop a follow. I figured out it is a follow button on Spotify. So,
Oh, there you go.
yeah, drop a follow on Spotify and leave a comment on Spotify. Because I keep forgetting that you can comment on Spotify as well. So, uh, let us know what you guys think, your predictions for Night of Champions, and so on and so forth. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.